In just over a week, the world will get a lesson on a dark chapter in Oklahoma history. Killers of the Flower Moon tells the true stories of Osage citizens who were murdered for their money and oil rights.
And we talked with one woman whose family movies from the 1920s were used to help set the scene for the big screen.
There's no sound, but the images tell the story.
It was fun times, I think, for them.
Clips of film, moments frozen in time from a century ago.
That's my grandfather right there.
They belong to Meg Standing Bear Jennings, giving a glimpse into her family's life in the 1920s and 30s.
The majority of the filming was by my grandmother, so I'm sure she's yelling at them orders. I'm sure she is.
Her grandmother, Mary, was the daughter of Osage Nation's longest-serving chief, Fred Lookout.
This is Chief Fred Lookout and his wife, Julia. That was my great-grandparents.
Their daughter, Mary, married Eugene Standing Bear, a Sioux from the Rosebud Reservation who loved to fly planes.
He didn't own one, but yeah, he could fly, and he loved planes.
Together, Mary and Eugene welcomed George, the star of a lot of these clips, and Meg's dad.
She had him always dressed up to the nines.
The film shows what life was like in Osage County after oil made the Osage people some of the richest in the world.
They drove Cadillacs, Lincolns. She had a beautiful full brick home with the Italian tile on the front porch.
Watching these videos, everyone looks happy. Life seems good.
Well, I think life was good when they weren't in Pawhuska. They knew something was up. They knew people were dying, and so they spent a lot of time away from Oklahoma.
The Osage were being murdered for their money and land. The majority of the deaths were never investigated and too painful for many to talk about.
Osage is dying by the enemy. Do not let them die alone.
But next week, the whole world will know the story when the book-turned-movie Killers of the Flower Moon is released.
And I'm just glad that Martin Scorsese is, bringing this history to life, and yeah, we're proud to be a part of it.
Martin Scorsese, the director, used Meg's family film to help set the scene for inspiration and accuracy.
And so I told his assistant, sure, I'll be happy to let him have my film, but I have to hand it to him. I got to go on to the set. He took a few minutes to visit with me. Very nice man, very appreciative.
The movie will feature reenactments from the film.
The scene where there's a young couple sitting like a roadster, I guess. That's a reenactment.
But some moments were impossible to recreate.
He actually used some of my video. Some of the airplane scenes, they used the real film for that.
They're parts of her family's past and her tribe's history, and they're now more protected than ever before.
I don't even have my original films now there in New York. Mr. Scorsese has a foundation where he refurbishes and restores vintage films in a temperature-controlled environment.
And while Meg's films showcase happy scenes, the movie carries a heaviness that still weighs on those in Osage County.
Obviously, there's still families up there that were, their family member was a victim or their family participated. They may not talk about it, but they're still there. So
It's complicated.
it is complicated.
But even through the complexity, Meg says there's a story to tell, one that looks back on the past and puts the present into perspective.
People need to know that we're here and we're a strong people. I mean, we're here to stay. We're not gonna go away.
And this is just one story from the Osage Nation oil boom and the brutal murders that followed. Coming up on Monday, we'll spend an hour walking you through the history and the investigation that inspired Killers of the Flower Moon and how it impacted the tribe. Watch our Oklahoma's own original report, Reign of Terror, Monday night at 7.